Now, all your favorite superheroes, their story tends to start with a trauma because your experiences are what makes you, and your story is what makes you, right? So my story began at the age of 4, and it started with trauma. So at the age of 4 is when the very first traumatic event that I remember happened to me. So my mother had left my siblings and I with my abusive father, and in fact she didn't have a choice. She had to leave or it would have possibly ended her life. But her leaving opened a window for my father's friends to become predators toward me. My story begins with a lot of intense trauma that I never thought I could be able to get rid of. I used to cry all the time because of what happened to me. The simplest words or sense or anything would trigger me, right? The intensity of my trauma did a number on me for years. And it was only until I found the words for it, which is PTSD and CPTSD and trauma. And when I realized I had PTSD, it really hit me. It really hit me. I had a word for it, and words are important. So having a word for the thing that's happening to you actually contributes to healing you in so many ways. But the thing is, when I was younger, I didn't associate the things that was happening to me as trauma because I was a child, and as a child I processed those things happening to me as attention and love. And this is where, as I got older, I realized that these things weren't normal. And having to keep those things a secret for so long, it ate away at me inside as a person. And it made it difficult for me to make friends, be in relationships. I mean, I had relationships, but to really commit and be fully there in relationships, it was really, really hard because throughout all of that, I was feeling intense pain, internal pain. I didn't know who I was, nothing like that. So the lesson I take away from that and I want to share with you is to identify as early as possible in your life. Because when I identified what trauma was and I had the words for it, I was 26. So the earlier you identify what it is, identify whatever your experience as trauma, as whatever, then you can actually work on it. You've named it. Once you've put a naming things is very, very powerful. And now that you've named it, you can proceed to taking the steps to healing it because you know what it is, right? I want to say take your, as early as you can in your 20s, if you're watching this and you're in your early 20s, take that 20s to really work through that trauma because trauma doesn't just go away on its own, right? You've got to work on it, you've got to work toward it. And I want to say, especially if you've had a lot of trauma that has happened to you, you tend to look at it as a whole. You need to divide those traumatic events, each of them, and you need to work on them each. If you really want to see the results of not having to be affected by trauma in your later life, okay, you need to categorize your trauma and write it down. Write down each trauma and what is affecting you and how it is affecting you. And I'm telling you, this is going to 100% work. It is 100% going to work. You need to write it down, categorize it from most painful to least painful. Okay, and then you chip away at it because the thing with trauma is we tend to look at it as a whole. You're not wanting to look at it as a whole. You want to look at it through the lens of categories. Yes, I can do this. I can break this down. I can break that down and work from there because the thing with it is it's all encompassing, isn't it? Trauma is all encompassing. So I started with breaking it down in categories and working from there. And then I made sure I saved up money to get therapy, but not just any kind of therapy, okay? I got EMDR. And EMDR helps you to process trauma in your body because trauma can be somatic, which means it's felt in the body and it stays in the body and affects you physically and mentally. So when you start working on reprocessing those experiences, because that's what EMDR does, it helps you to reprocess it, you will find yourself feeling less and less affected by the trauma as time goes on. So finding a good EMDR therapist, I recommend wholeheartedly. And if you're seeing like a normal therapist also, make sure you know what you want to talk about with that therapist. Try and be as honest and as open, and know that that is for your benefit. You're there for your benefit. You're not there telling a therapist your business and then they're judging you. Forget about feeling judged. What you need to do is you need to sit in there, or if you're on the phone, talk to them, be honest, and know that that honesty is the foundation of your healing. Okay? That's where you take a bit of responsibility for your own healing by showing up and being honest and really allowing the work to be done between the two of you, because it takes two to tango, right? And if you have a therapist and they're no good, then ditch them. And another thing I've learned all within the healing trauma is you've got to learn to be curious about trauma, curious about your experiences, curious about how you can work on them and heal. And I'm telling you, listen, I'm not even saying all of this to be flowery. I'm not a flowery sort of person. I'm saying all this because it is true. It will help you. And the earlier you start working on it, it is the better for you in your life. You don't want to be 80 and just having the epiphany of having had trauma and having had lived your life with PTSD or CPTSD. No. Start now. Don't delay, don't waste time. And then another way you can work on it for free actually is, well, what I did also is alongside EMDR, I had hypnotherapy as well. So I had a lot of, not a lot, well, a substantial amount of hypnosis sessions, which really, really help, because what hypnosis does is it bypasses your conscious mind and it allows you to work and process those emotions and those memories and things subconsciously. And what I did again is, before I went to a hypnotherapist, I knew what I wanted to work on. You've got to be clear. Get clear about what you want to work on. Get clear about your why for therapy, or why for EMDR, or the bit, and get clear about how, in the bigger vision of your life, how it's going to help you, and that is how you're going to get the most benefit from it. I'm telling you. I'm not making this up. I'm telling you from experience and what I've seen. If you prioritize your healing, but not getting trapped in mind traps, okay? That's another thing. Look out for those mind traps. You don't want to get trapped in any of those, because then you'll just be overthinking and you go over the same things over again. And that is trauma. You think about what you could have done differently. You think about what the other person did and the blame and the this and that. And that is valid. That is absolutely valid. But I just want you to know that on the other side of all of this, or everything you feel right now, and all of the doubt and everything, there is healing for you. I'm freaking telling you, there's healing for you there. And with the hypnotherapy, you can actually get free ones on here on YouTube, and you just need to look for the title that says hypnosis for trauma, hypnosis for PTSD or CPTSD, or hypnosis for overthinking. You really want to do things that bypass your conscious thinking, right? Because it is your conscious thinking also that is responsible, now that you realize what it is and you can sort of have the room to process that the thing that happened is trauma. Your conscious mind is going to replay over and over again, because what happens is your sense of autonomy has been, right? So as time goes on and you feel more of a sense of presence, of course these traumatic things are going to come up, and you're going to think about them, and you're going to have anxiety around them and all of these things, right? So I'm telling you, if you do these things as you're young, because I'm 40, so if you do these things as you're young, and you recognize that healing is possible for you, and it also starts with the mindset of you telling yourself that healing is possible for you, then you'll feel healing. And no matter how small it is, you need to say to yourself, thank you for this healing, no matter how small. If you watch this video and you have an epiphany, that is part of your healing. And say thank you for that to yourself, for acknowledging that. You have power. And when you feel that power, no matter how small, acknowledge it. Acknowledge it. So that is just my lesson for today, from what I've learned and things like that, and sharing it with you. And there will be more lessons, so stay tuned for that. and I'll see you next time.